Good morning. It is 10:30 a.m. Well, it's just after. It is Sunday morning, and that means it is time for Sunday Club, a weekly live stream where each week we take a look at doing some Ruby on Rails together. And this week we are carrying on where we were supposed to be leaving things we were supposed to be doing last week, and that is building the create event user interface for the app that we're building, which is about building an event registration and ticketing app, mainly focusing on group registrations for events and things like that. Last week we went to do that and then decided that what was actually really useful was that we didn't have things like the each event has an organization, and that organization wasn't showing up in the URL, the path, and we were having to pass it through as a param. But you can check out all previous videos in the YouTube channel. If you're watching this on Twitch, you can Google Sunday Club YouTube, and you'll find everything that has ever been on the channel there. Loads of Rails stuff to take a look at for the last, I actually forgot to check, maybe over a year we've been doing this, I think. Kind of forgot to check. Doesn't matter. Follow-up. We have no follow-up this week because I had said last week I did have the week off work. I was really going to try and do another stream around design and the user interface design, but instead I actually worked on another project in my spare time, moving an app onto active storage, which was super interesting. I didn't stream that work. I just was just kind of working on it on my time off. And I didn't even get it finished, but super interesting, and learned a bunch about active storage and all of that fun stuff. And that project is ongoing, but it did mean I didn't spend the time doing a design stream. So that is going to be upcoming. Got really good feedback of the last one. People kind of like the working in Sketch and doing the UI stuff. So I think we would do more of those, definitely. Because there's no follow-up, let's get into doing the work. Let's do what we should have done last week. I actually need to... Oh, a couple of things that I need to be aware of as well is that I've got to keep an eye on the connection speed, because last week, at the end of last week's connection, we had, thank you to whoever it was in the chat who mentioned that we were dropping frames, as I believe it's called, where basically my connection speed has had an issue. Which can cause buffering. Okay, so I need to look into what happened there. I think it was basically my home network had an issue. I'm gonna check that the stream is working now. I'm just looking at myself at that. Okay, but I think we're all good. I think we're all good for today. Let's crack into it. So we have an organization, I think, and we didn't have any seed data. I think that was some of our problem as well, because we had to keep creating everything. So let's go and take a look at what we've got. And we have got let's keep making that bigger. Organization.count. We've got 2. Okay, great. So what's our first one? It is Sunday Club, and so we should have Sunday-Club as a slug. Yep, admin events, and hopefully I'm still signed in. I am not. Okay, so we should have... did we build users through organization membership? We did not. So this is memberships.first. You can look in previous streams. This is just us... user.first. We've previously set up organizations and organization memberships, which is how we determine whether users can administrate those organizations events. Email, just need the email. Probably could have guessed that, but it's in here. Great. Okay, and so now we have... This is our events index page. We know that that's empty because there aren't any yet, but we now have the ability to create them. And this is actually where we started off last week's stream, but also where we ended up. However, this part here of this slug, Sunday-Club being in the path, was really that was what we ended up focusing on. So this slug tells Rails which organization we are in. It then provides like a part of the path that we can then use as the organization ID, organization slug, I think we ended up using in the controller, so we can see how that happened. Again, you can go check this out last week in our admin base controller. We have this organization.friendly.find. All of that's last week, so we're all good. We got there in the end. Okay, so let's get this working, actually. Let's get this working in its kind of rough UI form. Let's get the controller. I think we built a create. Yep, so we had a create action. We built the root, and we had this new form. Okay, so let's get a really basic version of this working so that we can create an event from within our application and go from there, which means we probably want some specs. Let's do we have model tests for an event? What can an event do? Oh, loads of stuff. Bunch of validation stuff. Validate. Great. Okay, so it just checks that we can't do anything too dangerous at this point. Okay, that's cool. So we can create an event, and request specs are our new controller specs. Getting used to that. Fair enough. And we've got index. And we've got new, and we haven't got a shared example for testing permission, but that's fine. So let's just assume that what we have here is fine and just carry on. We're not going to do too much diligence. So this can be for the create action, and we want to do we want it to create a new event, really. So we want to go there with a bunch of params pre-filled in. We need to be as an admin. Again, we will abstract all this away. Let's lift all of this. Again, this could probably, let's lift all of that. It's just going to take all of this because we basically need to do the same thing again. So we need an again. This is what we can get access. So we got this, and then we don't want the new action. This is going to be our create action, and it is going to be a post. Oh, this can now change, kind of. So this should. How is this one still working, or is it not? Because that's not organization ID anymore, is it? That's organization slug. So is this test actually failing? Let's go take a look. So I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but the basic point of where I'm going is I want to get a test running for the create action for events. Let's get the basics of what we're trying to do covered, so that then we know by the end of this stream we'll at least be able to create an event from within the application. So I'm checking the test file to see what's not working. A new action is not working. And the reason that's not working is because we changed this last week. And it should be like this. So we can change all of that. And we don't need this params part on the end because the organization.slug covers everything there. Oh wait, did I just change? Okay, I just changed the wrong one. I'm an idiot. Okay, so that should be get, and it's this one should be post. that's actually the problem when you haven't abstracted this away. You end up with so much. And by abstract that way, I mean like having a shared example or something like that. You just end up with such long test files, and they all look so similar. I often end up getting confused where I am. Okay, so that's fine. This. Let's just pause that for a second and pause that for a second and check that what we have now passes. Remember, this is all stuff that we've written previously. These aren't ones from this stream. New action. Oh, did I rename that incorrectly as well? Yep. Sorry, I did that one in the wrong Again, that one should be down here. And I did 2 of them. Okay, I'm making more work for us here. This one. But at least our test failed and we were happy that we caught it because oh, there we go, great. Now we've got testing tests that pass other than the ones we've got down here. So we've got a new organization. We've got our create action where we're going to post to this path as an admin, and we're going to do all the rigmarole that's required to create an admin user, add that user to the correct organization that we've got, and sign that user in. And we are going to say here that if you have so when the params for the event are valid, it creates a new event for the organization. And we want, when the params for the event are not valid, it we want that it does not create an event. Oops. But also that it does it assign the and edit view. We're just going to do things super kind of basic CRUD way. And this is our create action, and we can do that here. So let's lift this up again. We're just moving pretty quickly through all this. This is all fairly boilerplate stuff. Got a create action, and we expect organization.events. I can't remember the syntax for this. I'm just checking that an event got created, really. That's all I'm really okay, what's the syntax? Is it like that? No. Google that. Expect to change. To change. Oh, because I need that to change. Oh, okay. I'm an idiot. So that is that. There we go. So expect create action to change organization events to account by 1. I think that's what we're looking for. I think. And then here, do the same thing. There should be 0. And on this one, we should have, can we just check the flash messages on this? I think that's all we really want, is that the user sees a message. We need something basic at this point, so can we do that? Rails request spec test flash message. I think we need the word test in there. How to test the contents of a flash message in a request spec. Okay, cool. So we can just do flash error. And this can just be something. because we don't really care what that is yet. We just want to see a bunch of failures. So this one can then go. Great. So I think we've got some basic tests that test that our controller action does some stuff. Let's run those tests. They should all. I think this one should pass because it's testing that it's not doing anything. Does not create an event. Got a typo somewhere. Got loads of typos everywhere. Line 82. I can hear the music playing in the background of this video, and the good thing is that I finally went through and added some music from the YouTube audio library. There are now 65 songs that play randomly. And I added like another 5 or 6. Because even with having, I think there were like 50 odd before, still only ever noticed the same 3. Okay, cool. So apparently we don't have events on organizations. We can go. Have we actually associated events and organizations at all? Because this is probably a good time to go and do that if we haven't. Is there anything even on? Okay, so an event doesn't even have an organization ID. I think that was something. Okay, so that's something that we can add now, because I think that's something that I think we're happy to kind of commit to at this early stage, where we're saying that an event can only belong to one organization. Are we happy saying that? Yeah, we have to be, because at some point we've got to pin something down. I know I spoke, it was either last week or the week before, about this idea of like, anytime you're doing a single association, just make it as it belongs to many, because you always end up confusing things. But I think because it's the path, it's in the path that the event is accessed by, it's part of the access. It's like, why would you need an event to be accessed by 2 organizations if they were both running the event? In which case you could solve that somehow by dropping the access permissions down and giving the other people access to individual events, but it would still be under that organization. Yeah, I think we're happy with that. Okay, so let's do a quick detour, because these tests are never going to pass. And why bother? I know these are simple tests, but why bother not just checking the events.count part works? I think we could do that. So this could be this. And my thinking is that because the organization gets assigned at this point. Yeah, I think I was jumping ahead to where that was a concrete thing that we came to rely on. So maybe we do that now, because we don't have to do this, but I think it probably is worth doing. Let's jump ahead. So what's in our Git changes that we need to care about? Are all of these related to this? Yes. Okay, I don't even think we need to stash those. I think we can just do this. We can add organization ID to well, okay, so we can do column events organization. Oh wait, can we do whatever those freebies you get from? Does it add reference? But Rails. Is that a thing? Oh, it just adds the foreign key. Oh no, you do get add reference there. Okay. Reference column, because you get big int. Let's try and do things the Railsy way then. Is this the Rails way to do this? add reference, events, organization, what does that produce? It produces some stuff. Let's go and see. So in events, we get big int organization ID and an index. So it adds the index for us. Okay, cool. Then down here, it should has the foreign key as well. Okay, cool. I think we're just happy with that. Can we add that as a commit? Or do we want to add? Well, I guess we can add everything at once. Let's add in the spec models event. It is expected to belong to organization, and then here we should have organization spec where we can say it is expected to have many events. They'll both fail for now, and then we can go to the event model. I can't remember the order that we put. As many at the top, okay. Belongs to organization. Okay. Does that then work? So hopefully this should now pass. Great, and then we've got the same thing for organization spec. Oh, I had just added that. Expected organization to have a has many association called events. Oh, I didn't save the file. That was that genuinely thought I had. Okay, fair enough. So let's commit all of that. I usually cock those up, but let's assume that I've got something there, right? It's just a fairly, hopefully straightforward one. Spec. Organization spec. So we can commit that and say associate events and organizations. Well, we can. We are committing this point for. Actually, do we want to? We can validate it in the next commit. Do we kind of want to validate that it's always present as well? Do we ever want to have orphaned events? I think probably not. I think we probably always want to say that they belong to an organization and actually have that. Ooh, should we do that in the? in the migration as well, because we were trying to be pretty strict, I think. If we go and take a look at the schema, oops, leave that for a second. So in the schema, I think we had a lot of null falses from other ones. Like, okay, slug is always going to need to be there anyway. Yeah, I think on these organization memberships and the name slug. Okay, let's be conservative then, shall we? Shall we not commit this at all and roll back the migration? And say we actually want to mandate that that's always present. Okay, let's come back to that. So the migration is here. So can we say add reference? Can we say that that can never be from add reference? Null, whether the column allows null defaults to true. We can put null false on here. What else do we need to consider here actually? So type is all fine. Index adds the index where it's foreign key polymorphic null. I think that's it. Okay. So now we can run the migration again. Okay, so I keep our stage changes up to date. Fine. And we probably in here want to add a validation for organization ID. So this will fail on the database anyway. But I imagine that's probably going to fail. Which one is that? Event spec. This one. But this is probably going to fail. I am seeing... Hang on, let me just check the stream for a second. Yeah, it seems to be fine. I'm just getting... I get errors in the YouTube thing. It says stream status 4, which is not ideal. Refresh that and see what it says. Okay, so yep, we actually want to add the validation into the model. I think that the stream is fine. Yeah, okay, I think it's fine. So we actually want to go to the model. Validate. This should now pass. I've got to get Rubocop up and running because I think I'm just doing loads of violations everywhere. Okay. So let's say that hopefully works. So can we just do everything? Check this working. This all goes back to our previous change. So I think this is a good representation, this little bit of work of how we set out to do 2 streams and ended up doing totally different things each time. But I think that's pretty representative of most work. Here we go. So these 2 failures are the failures we're expecting anyway. And again, I think, like, I know this is just stuff that we're doing on the stream, so it's not exactly the most diligent, but if you're kind of working like this, kind of commit to commit, discovering stuff, I think that having your specs written, like we had said we're going to use Notion for this, like you would normally know a lot of this stuff. You would think this through before you were coding it, or I think that I prefer to work that way. rather than getting to be like, oh yeah, I've got to go and do that thing. We're just doing this because it's on the stream. Create. And organization. At this point, we are committing to event always having an organization that are, our thinking is that we are using the org in the slug or in the URL where the event is accessed, including the admin area. And if we were to this is pretty shitty grammar for some reason, need multiple organizations to administrate access and event, we could handle that via the auth permissions rather than needing to associate multiple orgs with an event. Okay, so again, this is one of those ones where we're just doing the work, so we've added the association there, but all the commit message is saying is why we think that's fine for now, because if an engineer reads this in a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, they know that you're adding the association. That's probably why they're reading the commit message. They're like, what was the thinking around? So just saying like, hey, we've added a test here, and you know you can see it has many blah blah blah. Like that's what the code says. That's kind of easy. So my thinking is that what I'm trying to explain in the commit message is what did I think at the time? What did we think at the time? Because this is a stream that people can comment on, that you might find useful to know, and because what I think might be useful here is that they then are able to read this and be like, this is no longer true. Like actually, we do need them to access it, and you do need two paths. Org A/event, org B/event. I need them both to work. And okay, as long as I know that the only reason this association exists is because when this code was written, we didn't think that was true. Now we know that it is true. That's fine, and we can just take it out. So you're just looking for that's kind of what I'm looking for. I don't know what other people look for. And yeah, I think that'll do. So now we should still get our failures. This is actually all we want. Oops. I think on item I can just drag this down, so I think we can just do that. Yes, that's pretty cool. I'm kind of learning. I'm still a new item user, but I'm still learning some of the cool stuff it does. Great. Okay, so we now get our two failures, but now we can get this one to pass. So because it should no longer be failing on, hey, I don't know what that association is. Yeah, so this failure previously was you can't ask an organization how many events it has, because that organization.events didn't work. Now it's saying, oh, it's not, the test is failing, but because it's now not changing it, so that's good. That's the failure we were looking for. So now we can go in here, and we can say we're going to build an event from the params. We are going to assign the organization as @organization. Remember, that's happened already this has been assigned in a before action of admin base controller. And we can just say which of these params we want to allow through. And we want to have, oops, we want to have an event, I think. And then we want to have just the mandatory ones that we're building in the UI. So I think we can just take these 4. Yeah. Oh, actually we can, well, oh no, they can have a little space. So I think it's those 4. That would create that. That would add. So then we can say if, we'll just do this super basic, if event dot save. Admin events path. Do we need to assign an organization to that? That might fail because I think last week we added that in, and then here we can do render new. Okay, so a bunch of stuff should fail there, I think. Yeah, what's going on here? Stuff up. Okay, well that's all fine because that's actually failing because the test isn't set up correctly. Okay, well we can go do that first then. So let's do our request spec. And we can say, what do we want? We want some valid params. Here we can say valid params. And we actually want to change create action. Yeah, let me come back to that for a second. So let's do the params first. And we want, actually we still want these 4, don't we? But we just need to give them some values. They can all be string values for now. And we can say, I'm gonna move this stream. I'm trying to monitor whether the stream breaks like I did last time. So I'm trying to just keep an eye on that. In the other window, I'm gonna move it down there so I can keep an eye on it. So here we can say, and then these one needs to be timestamps, don't they? I think it'll take just ISO ones. I actually don't know if that'll work. And then this can just be time zone, because I don't think there's any validation on that. Example time zone. So now we need to pass this create action, these params. So if we bring this down here, just see if this is. Just do this one for a second. I just want to check that I remember how to do this. So do we then do that in here? Is it then params, valid params? Right, and then in this one, let's just go to focus tag. So this is the only test that runs. So is that a thing? Is this anywhere near it? Moving pretty quickly through that, but I'm just trying to check if I've got the right end of the stick. Why is it failing when it says create action? I should only be running one. Should only be running this test. Controller action. Events controller spec. Is it not doing that focus? So I only really care about this test running. Just put the number, line number in. Can I do that? Let's do 84. Okay, so I need to put params event valid params. Let's try that. I knew I was going to mess that part up, so. Oh, okay, wow. So it is creating, and then what happens if I just pass this as nil? Let's just give it invalid params. Okay, cool. So don't know if I think that's good enough for it to extrapolate. I don't think I care about these being in like the correct time zone or anything. I think I just care that it's going to make a time, because it's something the user could pass in anyway. Rails is going to do its best to coerce it to whatever. So here we're passing the create action with valid params, but we're going to want to do it with invalid params. So let's move this one back up to here and just call this params. Here, when we say when the params are valid, we can just do that, and that should still continue to work. Let this focus out, because that totally didn't work. Fine. And then we can take 84 off. So the rest should now, that should fail. That should pass. Oh, okay. So here, when they are not valid, so now we want to grab this out, and we want to assign them as invalid params. So we can say, oh, can we set them all as blank? Because these are all required. So we should have, I don't know how invalid we want them to be. Great. Okay. So we should, it was something, but we got nil. Why is it nil? Should we not be assigning a flash, or do we have to do that manually? So here we should have, does flash error not get sent? Let's just stick, right. Oh, is this the thing where I realize it needs to be by bug because I haven't put pry on here? And we want to do 90. Yep. Okay. So again, each week I forget that I haven't put pry in here yet, and we have to go to by bug. And I don't know the difference between the two, but there's differences. Great. Okay. So here, if we do @event.errors, but can we do flash? So no flashes are set. So we would get the, right, okay. So I'm trying to remember what Rails does by default. So we would get errors on each field in the form, but not a flash error on the page. So, but we could do event.errors. Oh, isn't that one like as sentences? Oh, okay. Wait, this isn't pry. No. Errors.methods. Oh no. Full message. Okay. I think that's the one I'm looking for. Errors.full message. Oh. expected arguments. Okay, I'm going to just Google that because I don't know. Just want Rails errors as sentence. There's like a thing that you can errors.full messages format in Rails 3. Full messages .to sentence, right? What does that give you? Full message. That's full messages. Did I copy and paste that wrong? That's full message. Oh, full messages. Oh, I see. Okay, maybe I've done the wrong one. Full message. Okay, great. And then to sentence. What does that give you? Okay, so we don't want to pass this through. This is pretty rough. So we can just assign let's just do nothing at the moment. Let's not do that. Let's just check that let's just check that it renders new. Because we know it's not creating one. And we should have a feature test or some sort of integration test to check that errors are showing. The reason I'm thinking that is that actually we probably want to come up with some sort of system for flash messages rather than, because what we could do is in here, stick flash error equals, there was an error attempting to create this event. Please check the form, but you end up doing that individually everywhere and they're all really inconsistent and you probably want it in a locale anyway. But you could have a locale where you pass in, you could have something like a class where you pass in the name of the model that is going wrong. And so like you always get, and that then looks up the internationalization or something. Like you could have a standardized way of doing this. Whereas at the moment, the errors are going to show on the form, I think. Are they? Yeah. Yeah. So at the moment, let's not bother checking the flash. Let's check that it renders the edit view. Let's just check that. And then we can do expect response to, and then request, Rails request renders template. Let's just check that. Oh, did I not put RSpec in here? Render template match, I think that's what we're looking for. 2.render template. Here we go. And we want it to render the new one. So that's actually a less thorough test, and we can take that bug out of there. It's gone. Because all we're now checking is that it goes back, because we're not checking that the user has a good experience there. The cert template has been extracted to a gem. Okay, we're not using that then. Don't like that anymore. Cert template assigned to gem Rails RSpec. Just gonna see why. Because if there's a preferred way to do it, we might as well do it in the preferred way. Okay. Both methods have been extracted. This is all from 2015. I think we did. Our test helpers. I'm really skimming through this pretty quickly. just kind of want to know what the best practice approach to this was. Very lazy I am. This is all. Okay, yep. So we saw that in the docs page, but I know those docs pages are versioned, aren't they? You should not be asserting the template was rendered. You should be asserting on the behavior and contents of the output, which is like a feature test, I guess. Request specs are the total Rails stack going from the top right down to the response being rendered, and thus a more complete integration test. So does this have the view layer in? Can I then... So in a controller spec, I didn't imagine to... Do we do it like response.body? Include... whatever that error text we got out previously was. Blank. Just sort of making that up, but let's see what that does. Oh, because you get this. Okay, that sort of does work. So if we do that. Right, okay, so I maybe I'm thinking of these wrong then. So in my mind, the feature or integration test was where I would look to check that behavior. Oh, I need that to come back and be a real test. Was where I would look to check that behavior of the actual error message being shown. So one. But maybe it's fine to check for those, because that is here we can just have params as empty, doesn't matter. So yeah, I don't think that so that was actually the wrong one. That was going to be edit the renders. Oh, that's all wrong actually, isn't it? Renders the new template. We're not, if we don't test that, we actually have to test the output of the response. And that response has stuff like can't be blank. Which is what I would then look to test in the feature test, but I don't see why. So, but in that last statement, it's request specs are the total Rails stack going from the top right down to the response being rendered, and thus a more complete integration test. By testing that here, you're kind of saying, because you could presumably. Does this just come back as a giant string, or do you actually get like something that you can you do like, what is it, like capybara gives you like dot within, so you could say, well, we actually have that error message, but it's inside, it can't be blank, here is inside, event underscore name or something. Guessing, I think response.body is just a string. I mean, this is just such early work. I don't really know if this matters, but I think it is worth us bearing in mind for the testing that we do moving forward. Okay, let's Renders error messages for the invalid fields. Can we say how many times that string is in there? Is that like a quick Ruby include times? Include string. Okay, is there a quick way, like n times? Ugh. I was hoping there would be like a like quick dot times that you could add to include. Here you go, maybe scan is what I'm looking for. This is just to satisfy my curiosity. I don't know what the performance of this is like. So we actually want that entire string. And that is in the, let's just run that test. Ooh, okay. Yeah, that seems fine for now. That's actually pretty cool. So well, I know you're not supposed to do two, but let's, because we're, oh, they negate each other. So error message count equals that. Pretty super brittle test, because as soon as you add another field that's mandatory or anything, that fails, but it'll sort of do for now, mainly because I want to move on. We can take that off. So basically we're just using this to say, does this spit these out? Like if we change the error message, it breaks. If we change the number of fields, it breaks. Like super brittle test. But we haven't got any integration tests or feature tests at the moment. And we just kind of want to get going. Okay, so this now works. Okay, great. So let's, so we have an event, it gets created. We redirect to admin events path. Is this, so here we do want to check that we do go to the correct place. So let's say that we do create, and what it should do is it redirects to, and in reality, we want it to redirect to the event path, but I don't know if we have one of those yet. No, we don't have a show view. So at the moment we redirects to the events index path. That'll do for now. So then we can do create action, and then we want expect response to redirect to, and this is where I got confused with the request fix as well, because I don't think we had the paths available, or is that me misremembering? And then here, I think we want to, yes, we have admin events path, but we do need to pass in organization slug somehow. Would it just take that from what's present? Will Rails handle that for us? Find out. Oh, maybe. That's actually passing. Should we go and give that a try in the UI? So, test name. That needs to be after that one. It's just November. Time zone test, we're not validating that at all. Right, unknown. Do I need to restart the server? Oh, amazing. Okay, great. So yeah, that's all taken care of. So we go back to the correct place. And yeah, for now we'll sort of even leave the flash. We could put a flash message in that was a success. We'll just leave all of that for now. Okay, that's really, that is bonkers behavior, but that's fine. We don't really care. It's not the, we don't really care what the behavior is. Right, let's assume that we are doing the right thing there and commit that. Let's go through and check what's happening. So we are... Did that need to... no, because that's all in here. So that's creating for the new... This is what's going to pass for our PR review, I think, at this point. Redirect to events path. No flash or nothing. That'll just be fine for now. Just super basic. New is just those 4 fields. We've tested that works. It works as much as it needs to. That adds the event, adds create on there. This, this is one we missed previously. Oh no, we added that to the model here? No, that's one we missed from the previous one. Damn it. Okay, so here this one needs to be fixed up. Oops. Add org validation to event spec. Okay, cool. So that one can go there. Add the roots, and then in here we are adding. Oh, here we're fixing. So this one can get stage selection range. I just want to stage that line. This one could also get fixed up. I'm not sure why that didn't get included in the other one. Fix new action in events controller spec. I'm not sure that there's anything to fix these up into because I think we might have merged the other ones, but at least take a look at them or give them separate commits or something. And then in here we have a more everything in here that's green is all just about adding this create stuff. None of it's abstracted out. With valid params, it creates a thing and does a redirect where the invalid params, it renders some errors, fine. And it doesn't actually create an event. And then if you're not logged in, you can't access it. But we haven't got any access control tests for other organization members, but that's fine. We'll just add that to the list of stuff we need to do. Fine. In this initial pass functionality, there's a very basic UI. And user experience. Not adding any flash messages. The redirect takes you somewhere weird, and we're not, this is just stuff that I'm remembering that we haven't done. We're not yet testing that members of other organizations can't also perform this action. All of that good stuff to come in later. Commits. This is just some to get us started. Again, I'm sort of trying to explain, like, if none of that ever gets fixed, like, oh, why does it redirect here after we've made them? You're looking back and being like, oh, okay, well, this wasn't a deliberate choice. It was just that they threw something up. Like, that's all I'm trying to explain here. Okay, so let's go and see. Actually made it into master. Oh, wow, we can rebase them down. Okay, so we haven't done this for a while. So that's that. That can... Great, so add org. So let's rebase this in. Okay, so I think we can make a PR now to get this in, because you can now create them. You can all the way through from adding the event model all the way through to be able to create one in the admin UI. Oh, and this is what we did. This is all of what we did last stream. Okay, so this is getting the slug working. Okay, that's super useful. Initial validation for the event model. Oh, okay. Right, we actually don't. Right, that one we don't need here because we ended up not using the view component gem, so that one can come to the end and get moved onto its own branch. This we need. This we need. That we want. That can get moved out. These two could potentially get moved in front of that. That one could get moved up before this one. Sorry, so let's get rid of these two fix-ups to start with. So add org validation to event spec. That must go into the one above it. That's obviously just been missed from the previous one. Yep, so let's do that one first. So we can just do git rebase. Yep, so this first one, create has many association, add organization. That one can go in there. That one's done. Right, we then have fix new action in events. Controller spec. Where did that get done? Here? I want something visual for these, so let's try this one. I actually don't like this UI very much. I'm just going to zoom out slightly just to make it fit more on the screen. Let's see. Oh shit, that's not what I meant to. What is that? Oh, I didn't mean to do fetch. I meant to just do refresh. Wait, they have the same icon. Oh, okay, that's annoying. Whatever. This fix up has events controller spec. Where did that get worked on last? In the new action. And did that get changed? Okay, so that got changed. That's already been changed. So when that got added here, that just needs to be done. Okay, so that's coming down to add new action. Great. Okay, so we can rebase that as well. This one is coming up to add new action. I think it should just be able to go straight in. Yeah, cool. That's been successfully rebased. So now I think we can just tell a better story for our PR with this order. So we can do git log, add migration, add the model, and the validations. just going to bump that to the end. Bump those in front of it. So let's do those reorders first then. Right, we are not using the view component gem here. Actually, can I just go all together? It took 2 seconds, right? Like there's not a lot. Let's add view component. There's not even any config or anything in there. Yeah, so that can just go. We didn't end up using it. A little bit of wasted work, but that's fine. Oh, did I write anything in the commit message? No, not a lot. Then we can do add simple form gem can come. So in the add new action, do we actually add any of the form here? No, it's blank. But I think it still makes sense to do our prep for. So these two could potentially. So definitely that can come up before anything. So we're going to make our models, create our associations between our models, add some work here. And then do the actual, like, so what we're saying is, right, add our model, add our validations, add our associations, add the gems we're going to need, because the gems aren't necessarily associated with these first 4. Then we can say, build a controller action, and then we're going to build the forms itself. And I'm just, I don't really think these need to be 2 commits, do they? No. That can get squashed down as well. Okay. That's reordering everything. What we got? No, we took view component out. So go, and we can accept incoming change. Is that it? Yeah. And then you like accept. Oh, it's here. Oh, that's kind of in there, right? So that one can then go there. Simple form. Simple form. Great. Yep, that's all fair enough. We should get this edit again for the squash. Yep. This commit also includes default files produced after running, blah, blah. Cool. Successfully rebased. So now we should have a nice little narrative for a PR, create the event, create the model, add validations to the model, add associations to the model, add a gem to help us build forms, add the controller action where we're going to build the form, and after that, everything, a test should pass. Amazing. Let's push it. What we got? Create events. Git push. Origin create events. Right, let's go and get a Safari window with that in it. Bear with me just a second. It's on the other screen. Create event model. Create event model, that'll do. Admin. What do we really want to say here? We kind of want to say add validations. Organization and I mean, I'm not really going to put a lot on here because no one's reading. Like, this would normally be like review points and stuff, but no one's reviewing these, so I don't have the purpose. Everything's in the commit messages, so I just don't have the purpose for the PR message at the moment, which feels fine, I guess, just because of the nature of what we're doing here. Like, it's for the stream, no one's reading it. This isn't open source, so whatever. If you're ever looking at the stream, if you're ever looking at the stream for like best practice of what to do, this isn't it. But I think it's kind of fine for context. This is probably a bigger PR than I would normally make as well. I think this could probably be too small. Like, if you were asking someone to review it, why let it get to like 17 files they have to read? In reality, you could probably chop it after the associate. Like, you could do all of the back end stuff and call it like prepare event model or something like that. And then the next one could just be all of the UI stuff. I mean, we're doing on the stream, it's not particularly complicated, but I think when making a PR, the person reviewing it is probably your audience. So having a bunch more explanation stuff. So I don't know. Do we want? Okay, cool. So that's a thing that we now have. So that will not take long to pass. We can probably merge that in a second. And this is still using our GitHub action thingy. Oh, and most of it just is the time for it to actually fire up the whole thing. Okay, cool. Let's go take a look. At what we want to do next, I guess. So can we get to... Just want to see if we can get our Notion board up. I'm just gonna, it's just on the other screen, bear with me. Cool, okay. So we're not being very diligent with this, but it'll do. So there's links to these in the YouTube. If you're, for anyone who's watching this later on Twitch, there's links to these Notion boards here. So let's see what we got to. I think so we want to add our time zone validation. We can do that next. Maybe we'll learn some stuff. And the other thing we want to, so that would, can we turn these into like a checklist? Turn into to-do list. Boom, look at that. Name it. Oh, and I did them all at once. Okay, great. So time zone can only be a value from our list of time zones. So let's do that as a little tag along thing. So it was kind of an interesting thing to go and solve storing user time zone reference Rails. With our usual level of diligence, we're going to pick the first answer. If you're using Rails time zones, then you would store the identifier associated with that time zone. For example, Eastern Time, US and Canada. However, I don't recommend you use the Rails time zones for the reasons outlined in the time zone tag wiki near the bottom. Let's go and take a look at what that is. Jesus. Okay. Rails time zone identifiers. If you are a Ruby on Rails developer, or if you use an API from an application that was created using Rails, such as Twitter, you may encounter time zone identifiers displaying different formats such as blah, 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 blah. These identifiers are defined by Rails in the blah, blah. The source for this got blah, blah, blah. They are based on a standard blah, blah. Rails describes them as a meaningful subset of 146 zones. However, it does not describe by what criteria it determines a zone to be meaningful. That's the definition of things within Rails. It's like, I don't know. There's probably a conversation in a chat somewhere from 2006 you have to go and find. While these particular zones should work just fine within a Rails application, you may find it difficult to use them in another context. For example, if you need to pass a time zone to a JavaScript library or a REST or via a REST API to some third party, it may be difficult to consume them in a Rails format. Rails developers should consider one of the two approaches. When exposing a Rails time zone identifier externally, use the blah blah mapping constant, which defines a dictionary back to standard blah 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 blah. Use the Ruby TZ info gem instead of active time zone when it provides full access to the full IANA Olsen time zone database and uses standard identifiers. Okay. Okay, I'm just skimming through this. These do seem like good reasons to use a generic gem. I'm just going to find something. Oh, we did look at this as well. What date is this from? 2015, updated 2019. Okay. TZ info. So is this going to say all the same stuff? Use the time zones. Let's decide each has a time zone defined. This can be added by time zone attribute user. Oh wow! Oh wow! Simple form actually supports time zone. Oh my god! Wait, what? How did we define the string? Okay, fine. Simple form supports time zone. Wait, as what? Just the name of the field? How is it inferring that that string is in fact a time zone? That's the current user time. Okay, so let's. Okay, this is a good little end of stream rabbit hole to go down. So simple form time zone. Let's see if they can go and kind of solve this for us. So is it just because it's called time underscore zone? Because I totally didn't put that underscore in. I'm guessing you can do as time underscore zone. Okay, so everyone is saying use the gem. Unless that's that same person going around and posting on all of the Stack Overflow answers because he's like desperate for everyone to use his gem. Okay, so let's try this one first. Let's go try this one first. Did we get a green on our PR, by the way? Because we can totally... Oh, it's gone. I think that's lovely. I think we can then... They should be merged. Cool. Great. So we can do get checkout -b, which makes a new branch, and we can do event time zone, whatever. Okay, so event time zone, and we can close this because we're not going to do another one of those. Let's go and find our form and see if we can see what simple form gives us out of the box. So we're going to go to our events, new form. Oh, I put time zone as string. So let's see if we can do as time_zone. Let's see if it gives us something. So we can do events./new. What? Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so this I'm assuming is the Rails list, that subset list, which everyone, when I say everyone, 2 people on Stack Overflow have said not to use. But it is pretty cool that you get all that for free. Use your Rails stuff. I mean, it looks like a dog's dinner, but whatever. So could we then say, let's let you correlate the Rails back to time zone tag. Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, hang on. What's this one doing then? Then maybe you have to install that gem to make this work. I'm assuming because it says TZ info. Let's just check we get an error there. We don't get an error there. Wait, is TZ info now just built in? Do I have TZ info? TZ info? Let's go and see if we get it in gemfile.lock, or is it now in? Comes as part of active support. Okay. Probably want to add explicitly in case it went somewhere, but okay. You get it as part of active support. Great. So. Oh, I see. And it's just a longer list. Oh, wow. Okay. ET. Okay. Fine. The Rails ones are a bit more usable, I guess. Okay. Because I recognize, so let's just take that back out again. Hang on a second. Let's do that and then one without. Will that work? So we get both on screen? Okay. So I recognize this. I get this pretty regular, or something like it, where you get the plus. Oh my god, there's a 1245 one. I don't think I've ever really had to dive too deep on time zones, but every time I brush over it or someone explains anything they've had to do with it to me, then it's always it's always fun. Okay, so people are saying use this list, but this list isn't formatted. So this will render options names. This will not render option names. You want only values. Okay, so let's go and see if someone has done the hard work for us. So that's just giving them a... So time zone selectors, I assume what we're getting back from those zones. So simple form, time zone, TZ info. Kind of keep Googling in case someone has handily... Like, oh yeah, there's a helpful method somewhere. Here we go. Time active support time zone. Yeah, so I don't really want to offer 594. I kind of see where the Rails one is coming from, or it is an arbitrary subset, and you then have to map them back on. But offering users 594 options doesn't seem ideal either. So could we go back to this idea of having a mapping somewhere? What does this mapping give us? Hello in the chat. It's time zones. We're looking at time zones. Whoa, and there's a lot of them there. Right, okay, so these... Right, so Rails gives us this meaningful subset of 146 zones, because the other gem gives us of hundreds and hundreds. So let's say we use the Rails ones. How many are in here? Right, it's 150. Okay, maybe they've added more meaningful zones. There's 151 items in that hash. And this is mapping the zones that Rails has picked as meaningful back to the equivalent official one from the big long list. Okay. So the fact that that exists, I don't know. Like, I get the point that the person in the answer was trying to make around, like, if you're trying to expose this via an API, but presumably you just never expose externally these values. You just want to store. I'm not even sure which way around these are. Which one do I want? Is it the first one or the second one? Oh, well, that's the official one, because we just saw that etc gm plus 12 in the other list. So that's just scroll. Right, so plus 12. Right, so that's that one. So for each value in this hash, this is what Rails is picking as a meaningful zone, and this is the map to its official, super official entry. Okay, cool. So what is Rails giving us as the values for its meaningful subset? Some string. Is that string arbitrary? I think it was mentioned in that first one here. Yeah, they're just arbitrary. They're just Rails' thing. So you store Rails' arbitrary one. This is potentially what we do. We store this value as the time zone, and this is Rails arbitrary time zone. Within our Rails app, that will always work, because we can say to Rails, here's the time zone. You know what time zone it is, do your thing. So it knows that International Dateline West is GMT minus 12. Fine. The issue we then have to remember is that if we expose these externally, or need to do anything with them with any other app, this is not the official thing, and we have to run through that mapping. Oh no, here we have to run through this map, through this, and map this to this, and this is the output we should actually give externally. So we're basically picking, so they've got a list of 550, we're picking 150, Rails is picking 150-ish, arbitrarily assigning it a different string. Fine. We're storing that string. We know it then needs to get mapped to a new string if we ever expose that externally. That seems fine. It seems like as long as we bear that in mind, fine. Because the other issue we face is that if we don't do that, we have to expose way more time zones to the users. Like we would have to give them the entire official list. So Rails is sort of doing the user-friendly thing. So this is too long. Because these are the same thing, right? Like GMT plus blah blah. Like these cities are in ETC Greenwich, ETC. Like, what's the difference between UTC and ETC Universal? Like, are they the same time zone? Do they change? Oh my god. Okay, let's never think about this again. This is fine. We are going to store Rails' thing, which means that we can validate, which means we're not going to do that one. We're going to do this one. I'm making a decision on the fly here. We're going to store this thing, whatever the value of that is, and we're going to need to validate that within Rails model validate time zone. And we can hopefully just say, yes, this is what I was looking for. But I only want the... What do you get out of this? Ooh. Okay, let's just get one value and see what you get. You get name, UTC offset, TZ info. Oh, so Eden actually has, so the mapping is just pulling that out. Okay, fine. So just, okay, we want, is that the same list as what we had? Yeah, International Dateline West. Okay, great. Time zone all map name. Oh no, it's taking the TZ info name. Interesting. So it's taking this one. TZ info dot name. Ah, right. Why is it doing that? All identifiers, right? What's that? This is, I mean, oh, that's calling it from TZ info. All identifiers. But that's not the Rails list. Okay, so this goes back to the same problem. This is someone saying, okay, we'll just use the TZ info one. Okay, so is this saying we should do that mapping before we save it so we could show? Yeah. Okay, so here's someone. Okay, so this presumably depends on what you're actually storing. So we could do the mapping. We could show the user the subset with Rails lovely formatted ones. Pass that in as the value they select from that drop down list. This one here could be Rails label. We could do that mapping ourselves and then only store the relevant one. But then we'd have to remap it on the way out. I don't really know what value that has particularly. Like this person here is kind of doing what I was thinking, which was like we're using and storing the time zone's unique name. Because we're in control of what that offers. I feel like the question I'm always trying to answer is like, are we backing ourselves into a corner that's just undoable here? I don't think so. I think that this is fine because you've always got that mapping to map it back out. Sounds super naive though. Try. Yeah, okay, let's do this. And add it to the model. So we've got a model. So it validates the presence of, so we don't need to worry about that. So we're already doing presence time zone there, so we can do validate time inclusion in. But this, instead of doing all identifiers, I think we can do is that shit? Trying to indicate here from the name of the test that we're using kind of Rails subset list. Just feel like I'm really screwing myself over here. But I just don't know if doing that mapping as you save the value is particularly worth it. So we could say so we want one of those values, not those ones. We want these ones. Like can you like to be true? Is that the correct syntax for that? Would be underscore whatever it is. Let's okay, is it doing anything? Yeah, great, okay. So expected true got false. Because I need it to be valid. Oh no, so yeah. I need to time zone be nil. What? Deprecation handling message array. I don't know what that is. So, okay. So what is messages at that point? I'm just using that aspect to spit out the actual contents of errors. Oh, because it's not doing a valid then. I'm actually checking. We're not checking that the oh, still the same. Fine. And so what is subject.errors.messages. Just focus stopped working previously. Let's see if that works now. I was only trying to get one test to run. Yeah, there's... Okay, so time zone isn't in there. So that's not giving us nil. It's giving us that deprecation handling message array. Right, so presumably that's because when you... Can you do like that to see if you get a string? No, you still get that empty array. Obviously screwing that up. Aspect test. Oh, errors blah 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 dot first. Okay, right. Because you're getting an array back to... Are you always getting an array back from that? Oh, because you do include it, which would include the string. Okay, fine. But got nil. Okay, great. So to be nil. Okay, so we're not expecting to have an error there. And then... Oh shit, there's loads of it. That focusing is really not working. I don't know what's... Why not add that to my aspect? Sync, okay. That's not ideal. To equal, and this should have like something in it. Got nil. Oh no, because this should be invalid. Time zone value. Is not included in the list. That's fine. We don't really care what that says at the moment. We're not doing anything with error messages in terms of people entering things. Okay, cool. So that can go as well. Let me just see if I put... Oops. No, that can go. Cool. So we now have a very ugly looking but functional time zone doodad. And so did I see like it was like Rails select time zone? I was just looking to see if we could like get the I was going to say that we could get the client, get their time zone from the client and pre-select a value for them, but I don't know if I can really be bothered to do that. So what we can do in the meantime is assume that I'm in the UK and everyone else is as well, which is not the case at all. But at least we could... oh, our time zone changed yesterday as well. Our time zone, our clocks went forward, went backwards, sorry, last night for now. So we have moved out of BST into GMT. So what's this one? It would save me having to change it each time. Time zone. London. And you do it this, oh, is it like selected? Oh no, is it the actual string? Simple form, I can't remember the HTML way of doing it. Simple form default selection value, default select value. So it's selected, but selected is the I want the value, not the name. That thing. No, I don't think so. Because I think that should be this. I think this moves. This would need to be the time zone for. Oh no, that doesn't work either. Okay, cool. That's good. Why doesn't that work? Not set as selected here. That one's not set as selected here either. Is it because you have to put them inside input HTML? Because the params list for the select and the... Oh, okay, that one now doesn't work at all. And now what happens if we just pick London? Oh, that one doesn't work either. Interesting. Oh, I'm really screwing this up. I didn't think this would be that hard. Yeah, so do you use the selected option of simple form, and this one's doing input HTML value. Simple form selected. So we've gone from time zones to form. So that is passing selected. But not as input, not in the input HTML. But that's not actually being selected. Is it because time zone is doing something funky? Like if that was just a list of 1 to 10? Like if this... like if this wasn't a time zone and we just did collection is 1 100 and then we did selection 54. That work? Oh, whoops. Not collection. Damn it. Oh, it doesn't need to be in. That gives you an array. Oh wow, there's a storm starting outside. That gives you an array. It doesn't need to be an array. Okay, so we get 54. Okay. So is it because we're passing time zones in that's weird? So as time zones, selected London is not working. Well, let's try simple form time zone selected. Because we would need to do this for the user value anyway. Let's do time underscore zone. Okay, priority might be what we're looking for here. These values can also be configured with the default value to be used on the site through country. Ooh, okay. Time zone priority helpers. Note while using country select if you want to be interesting. Okay, so we were correct. It wasn't that we were using the wrong API. It's because the API doesn't work for time zones. They have their own fancy stuff. So we can type in priority London, I would guess. Okay. We've got a bunch of typos in there. That doesn't need that, I think. Nope. What's the error we're getting? Name for London. That was what it told me to do, wasn't it? No. Obviously screwed that up. Oh, so that's country. Oh, so sorry. Okay, so time zone priority. So what is time zone priority? What's the list? It's not doing anything there. Okay. Simple form time zone priority helpers. I want to know simple form time zone priorities. Config country priority. And you can give it a list like that. Okay. We want to do priority US. What can we do priority UK? I don't even know if UK is how that's done on that list. No. Okay. Can we do... I have no idea how this is working. Is it just like that? Okay, great. Oh, okay, and it actually puts them above. Interesting. Okay. That's kind of annoying because more people are going to pick London, but... So what are the actual values that you get here? London, Edinburgh? No. It's just... Can I just put that as a string? No. Okay, it needs a regular expression. Okay. And London... returns Edinburgh because of they're in the same zone. Okay, fine, whatever. We'll come back to that. We've learned a lot. we've had a lot of fun along the way. I don't understand anything that's working there. What actual code did we end up with here? Right, we're storing Rails fancy pants things. So does this then work? That's the most important thing. So if we then can't store it as blank, so we put London, new event. This needs to be later than the other one. Create event. Right, so that has now been created. And then if we go to a console somewhere, is this a console? We can do event.last, event.last.timezone, London, and then we can pass that to Rails' thing. Rails get time zone from string. Yep, so I feel like this is this thing here. We can say time in time. Right, okay, this is what we want. Time in time zone event dot last dot time zone. What is time? We just do time. Do we need a new instance of time? Ah, okay, great. Sunday 31st, 12:33. Great. Okay, so now if we create a new event, so we go back here, we call it other time zone, and or something like that, and then we put this one in somewhere where it's different. Doesn't really I don't see a big difference. Let's put Hong Kong. Create the event. Great. Now event.last.time zone. What is event.last.time zone now? No. Why did that one? Oh, okay, great. It didn't change this. Okay, yeah. Okay, we're still working. Hong Kong is good. Other times, right, that's now been created. Event.last is now Hong Kong. Amazing. Time.new.in time zone. Event.last.time zone. Sunday the 1st, and it is 8 p.m. in Hong Kong time. Great, so that's when we would then say that we would then have a helper in our view which checks that. Okay, amazing. So let's write some of this up. And we're going to want to do this right up now because while I'm holding this stuff in my head. Okay. So I think all of this can go in. So what's changed here? We've got the time zone and its validation. I don't know how performant it is to do that. I think that's fine. Only like a couple hundred in there. So that thing's weird, but that's fine. And we're checking that it only accepts that. And also we removed a couple of those focus things which shouldn't be there. We need to remove a copy in here as well. Great. But that's fine. We'll just let that slide. Git commit. Validate time zone value for event model. It turns out we don't need that. So Rails simple form provides us with a helpful as time zone helper, I guess, which shows the user a list of formatted time zones. These are Rails list of time zones stored in what as? Oh, I lost my console now. They are stored in active support time zone. The official list of time zones is available in is it TZ info? Like that was the casing on that. That's TZ info. Capital T, capital Z. Okay. In TZ info. Available as a gem and via active support. However, when we looked at providing that full list to users, it had over 500 plus entries. A mapping of Rails time zones to the official list is available in that thing that was called mappings. That was like here. This one. If we are ever to use time zones outside Rails, we would want to do this mapping before exposing the stored time zone values externally. We're not doing this mapping before saving, as this seems like overkill at the moment. Just can't be bothered at the moment. Like, we're only going to use them internally, and I think we can. I hope we can back out of it. I actually wasn't clear whether they map. Are there any that map to multiple? So you have two Rails listings that actually map to the same official one, because then you wouldn't be sure which one to actually show the user. So, and I'm not sure if any Rails values map to more than one the official list. That's actually a better value. Okay. Cool. What am I doing? Exit that. Event time zone. And we can do. Oops. Push origin event time zone. Did have. Yeah. API thing up here. Because this only has one commit in it. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we now have events being created. We have the time zone values being checked. that they're valid, and we have the ability to create them from the admin UI, which is pretty exciting. So I guess let's do a quickie. Let's just do a quickie little thing where we want to show these things. So now I think we can go back to the view component aspect. So now we want to go back onto. That's not going to take too long to go green, is it? Oh, it takes ages to build. Let's stay on here for a second then. So app views events index. We actually now have events for this organization. So this is coming through admin controller. Oh, no, sorry, controllers admin events. So in index, we actually now have at organization.events, which we didn't have before. Or we can do all because we're not going to save this, so I know that that's not. So we can do at events equals that. So we now have those going through, and then we could be like, have this event, and we can say event.name because we know they have to have a name. Then if we go back to our browser, we have cocked that up, and it is because we don't need an @ symbol on this one. Okay, and we're just going to put a div around it so we can see they're on different lines. Cool, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 events. And we don't have a show value for them yet. But I think this is because we're up to over a couple of hours now for this stream. So I think we can start to knock this on the head. I'm just going to check that the thing has gone green, which it hasn't. But I think we can start to do our view components. So if you remember, did we have one in our other? Was it called prototype? Oh, it was. So this was the prototype we built previously in the stream. All these components. Yeah, so we've kind of got this event list items. Oh yeah, look at all this fancy stuff. So we've got a bunch of code here that we can move over to underscore thing. Yeah, okay. I think we've got a bunch of this stuff ready to go to move over. So I think that's what we can start to do next week then. Is move this admin prototype stuff to make it a bit more production ready. So we can add some, did we have any tests around these? So we probably want tests for these components. I mean, probably not that one because it's just using the basic. I don't even know if we would need it. None of these were doing any logic from my memory. They're literally just spitting out what they were passed. Probably need a refresher in my mind as to how to use those as well. So that's all sidebar stuff. And then we could work out if we could put some of this stuff in directories that make it more sensible. Ah, here we go. Got test failures on here, so we can fix this stuff. What's going on here? 2 failures. Oh, amazing. Because our valid params no longer contain a valid time zone. So that's pretty good. That's a good test failure to have. So in here, we had valid params. And this shouldn't be an example time zone. It should be... add one. This one. And so we can then just go and check that this works. Oh, we can close this one. Let's just check that failed as well. Was that the failure that we got in the same file both times? Admin events controller spec. Yep, they fail both. And then if we move it back, so that can. So we can just. I only want that one change for the fix, which is this one. Yep, I think that's the only thing that changed in there. Not being too thorough on the check, but that's fine. Fix test. Event time zone. Sorry, I'm just fixing that test failure. Oh, that will fail because it's been rebased. Great. Okay, and then we can just pull that out of the stash. Okay, so this should be running again. Cool. So. Yeah, so let's so next week we will get the view component gem installed again. See which one of these we want to move over. So event list item. List items. That came from this. Admin event list item component. Item component. That required a name and a path, but presumably that could just be past an event, I would guess. Where do you actually pass that name and path in? That come from the model? No. Yes, there's a bunch of stuff here because I think I'm still so new to using view component. I think there was a bunch of stuff here I probably wasn't doing particularly well. Like when here we're doing admin event list item component, that requires a name and a path to be passed in. But when we actually render the admin list the event list item here, I don't know where it gets that from. Is that actually in the view when we render it? Event. That's individual events, so index. Right, okay, so we're actually doing that in the render call and defining those here. So, but that could just be event. And this could be... I think this was because we didn't have any models, right? Like this, I'm assuming, could be like this. And then each one would have in here, this would just be event, I guess, something like this. But I think the fact that we were doing it in the view is just because we didn't have any models in that prototype. We could just do everything like hand cranked. And I don't know what helpers you get, like path helpers and things like that in the actual view components. Okay, yep, we can take a look at that. Let's go and see if we got a green on our thing, which we now do. And let's just check what we've got in here. Yep. Yeah. Comes out and that gets updated. Yep, fine. Cool, I'm just going to merge that. We can do. Oh, we're already on master. Oh crap, I'm in the wrong one. So here we can just do git status. We are on event time zone. Dash these. Cool. So this should now be merged and deleted. Great. Okay, that's going to wrap that up for this week. So like I said, next week we will take a look at view component, kind of cracking through stuff now, like making good progress, and we should have a nice user interface and things to be able to do things with over the next few streams. And then the big thing will be allowing people to register for those events. So like modeling out what that looks like, which is pretty good progress. Have wonderful weeks. And like I said, I didn't get a chance to do the design stream because I was working on active storage stuff this week instead. But I will see if I can find some time to do that because I think it would be pretty exciting. Yep, see you next week. Have a wonderful week and day.